can't see me like Houdini, move discreetly. I go They can't see me like Houdini, Lamborghini. It go They can't see me like Houdini, move discreetly. That's it. Go They can't see me like Houdini, Lamborghini. It go
Welcome to Misbehaving Women, where we unapologetically dive into the issues that matter most to women, from wellness to feminism and everything in between. No sugarcoating, no filter.
We're here to spark conversations about the real life challenges we face, the topics that often get swept under the rug, and the ones men need to hear about if they want to truly support the women in their lives.
I'm Kelli Taylor, a best-selling author, award-winning acupuncturist, and hormone coach for women's health. I'm passionate about helping women live their best and healthiest lives.
I'm Rebecca McMillan, founder of Worthfulness.com, an online self-guided program that teaches teen girls and young women real tools and concepts they use to support unshakable self-worth for life. Together, we're here to shake things up and have some...
I make some real. Sorry. Okay, so
do that again.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
Together, we're here to shake things up and have some real, no BS conversations.
Well, we're thrilled that we're still getting messages coming in from everybody. So many women are realizing they're in perimenopause that didn't know. I keep getting messages. Oh my gosh, I'm in perimenopause. Which is that's amazing.
It is amazing.
For people to realize what's going on that they didn't know and they can get help.
Yeah, it was good. Last weekend I was in the car with my girlfriends. We went up for a day trip to Squamish to have brunch, and it was literally jam-packed full of perimenopause, and they had tons of questions. They had all listened to the podcast, they had tons of questions, and then they were like, you didn't mention this, and you didn't mention this, and you didn't mention this, and I'm like, okay, so Becky had the great idea of coming up with a Q&A, so we're going to have some questions, and we're going to answer some of the questions that are coming in, because I'm still getting people sending in questions.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate all your questions. We will get to that.
And there are other topics within that topic that we had planned anyway, so lots to come on that, because clearly you struck a chord with a lot of women.
Yeah, and it was good. My favorite out of everything was your mom.
Oh.
I think that was like the most touching. I think that she felt seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
for sure.
To me, I'm holding that close because I feel like that's a beautiful thing in life.
Yeah. More people than my mom listen, just so everybody. But I appreciate that my mom was one of the people that listened to our episode.
Yeah. Well, I think it was really touching, and actually my mother-in-law also. She also said really good things, because I think she also to some degree felt seen. And for me, I felt like that was really touching, because it's a generation that no one ever talked about any of this. Like we may be in a generation where we're starting to come out of that.
Definitely.
But there's more talk right now, but their generation was a lockdown. Like nobody talked about it. And I feel like they suffered silently. So for now to have people talking about this, and for them to now be able to relate to some of the stuff we're talking about, or to be able to be like, oh, maybe that's what that was. But I can't imagine, being a person who is got all this stuff going on in your body, and then you go to the doctor who probably was a male doctor, and not being able to be seen or heard or validated for what's going on in their body.
And feeling like you're going crazy from a lot of those symptoms.
Yeah.
So we'll have that coming up. We'll answer the questions that have been coming in, and we have other episodes coming up on this. It was funny, even though we were in the car the other day, and Paul said to me suddenly, okay, there's something I have to talk to you about. And so I'm like, oh my God, right? Like we never really have a serious talk like that. And I'm like, what is he going to tell me? And I go, okay, just say it. Like what? And he like took a pause. Like he was really dragging it out. And he goes, I have to explain to you what Mercury retrograde is. Okay. And I'm like, what? I'm like, like, okay. So he like goes, and I'll be honest, I kind of tuned out. He went through the whole, astronomy, whatever it is, explanation that I was like, okay, yeah. And he goes, anyways, but if you still want to believe in that thing, like in it, you can. But the point of what he explained to me was it's not real. It's a phenomenon.
But did he explain it from a scientific background,
Yes.
not from an astrology background?
100% scientific.
So it's a real thing in the science
world. Oh, in the science world.
It is a real thing.
No. The point is that it's not real. People think it's a thing, but that's what I took away from it. That it's not really in retrograde. It just looks like it is. It's just like what you see visually. It would appear that it is, but it never is.
Okay. So I'm wondering if it's, and I'm just going to spitball here, but is it the energetics of that astrology talks about? Like, what is it?
I love that because I can't listen. If you ask me, it is real. It has been real in my life for years. There's no denying other people that you're like, what's going on? Everything's crazy. Oh, Mercury's in retrograde. I don't know.
I feel like there has to be something to it.
There's something. So the science community would argue. But I was like, God, he was really like breaking it to me. And he was like, but if you want to believe in it, you can. I'm like, okay, sure. I don't know. This often happens where he explains some science thing to me and I'm like zoned out.
So I love it. So that means he listened.
He did listen. And that it had obviously been burning in his mind. And he's finally like, I've got to tell her. She's got to know.
So she's got to know. So did he think that what we said about it was just wrong?
Well, it's not. No, the astrology part. It's not that it's wrong, but he wanted me to know like it's not real from the science point of view. That it is just. I can't think of the word for that, but like it looks like it, but that's not really happening. Basically,
like an illusion.
It's an illusion. There you go. Yeah. So anyway, listen. I still believe in it, and I don't want to dissuade anyone out there who also thinks it's a thing, but. There's also probably people listening that are like, yes, that's what we were thinking. It's not real. It's an illusion. So Paul, there he said it straight up that way. He also said he's going to do a podcast called Well-Behaved Man to compete with us.
I love it.
I know.
I love it.
He was on a roll. He's like, it kind of sounds like a 70s sitcom name, like Tonight After Golden Girls, Misbehaving Women. I was like, it does sound like that, which I love. I'm like, I want to get a t-shirt in that font now, like the 70s sitcom. And which, speaking of a t-shirt, the reaction to our merch when you wear it out in the world is my new favorite thing. Like when you're walking around and you see someone from a distance, like if I'm on a walk or when I'm at the playground with Effie, and you see them read the shirt suddenly, and then people come, they're like, I love that shirt. Or a woman will just pass me and give me a smile in some sort of weird way, like a knowing smile. I don't even know what to say, but it's almost like a secret community or something. I've been loving that. So now I just put my sweatshirt in the laundry every couple of days. I keep wearing it out there because I love the reaction I'm getting. Once before, I had a lighted toque that said "Be kind" from the Pink Shirt Day thing. That's the only other time in my life I've had merch that you get a reaction when you wear it, like a positive that people are really resonate with. So I was very proud. I thought that was cool.
I love that. I had that with the trucker hat. I went to my coffee shop and the girl had the biggest smile, but I didn't put two and two together, and I thought she was just happy to see me. And I was like, oh, she's so happy. You're like,
oh, she really likes me.
And then she was like, I love your hat. And I'm like, thank you. And then I don't know, because I'm not salesy. It's a really uncomfortable place for me.
Right. You don't want to be pushy or something. Yeah.
And I just said, thank you.
You didn't even tell her.
I just said thank you. So we'll see. Maybe next time she says something or...
If someone says to you, I like that, Kelli, it's okay for you to say, thanks, it's my podcast. Check it out.
I wanted to, but I just felt so cheesy and there was so many people there. It just felt really cheesy and I just felt really uncomfortable. So I just
said, fair enough. Maybe she'll go Google it and we'll come up.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll work on that.
It's got a bit of mystique. That's okay. Nice. Yes. So I'm sure that, like most people, actually, I'm not sure when this will drop, but this is the week that everyone has been binging Perfect Couple with Nicole Kidman and Liev Schreiber. You're looking at me like you didn't binge it.
No, I did.
Okay.
I was thinking, did I watch it? I did. It was so good.
I feel like it's the best new show in years. Like I've been waiting.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, I really enjoyed it.
Loved it. Everyone I know, but like I wrote some friends, I'm like, oh my God, I put the show on. I'm on episode 2. I'm thinking I'm going to binge it. Everyone's like, yeah, I watched it last night. I watched the whole thing last night. Like everyone, like as soon as I was like, oh God, I even had like a raging headache and I didn't want to go to sleep. I'm like, I need to know who did it.
I know. Every time I see Nicole Kidman, I laugh so hard. So when I was in school 20 years ago.
Yeah, not now.
Not now. I had said something about Nicole Kidman, and my friend, he is hilarious. He couldn't stand her. And he would always say she has crazy eyes. And he would say that he's like, I guarantee she's crazy. And so every time I see her in a movie or I see her in something, I'm always like, I'm obsessed with her eyes and her eyebrows, because he said she just looks, to him, she looks crazy. And so I'm always like waiting for the crazy to come out. But
wow, my jaw's on the floor. I think I don't know. Like, I think she's one of the top 10 greatest, top 5, top 3 greatest actresses of our time.
I don't know if I think that, but
oh, she's incredible.
I'm always
and she's
waiting.
so beautiful. Crazy eyes.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
Sparkling and dazzling?
He was convinced that she's crazy.
Wow. Now I'm wondering, is this a bias to redheads? Because some people like to say that about redheads.
Oh.
There's a lot of redheads in my family. My daughter, she looks like she might be a redhead, so.
Is she a redhead? I thought she was blonde.
It's like strawberry blonde. It's actually, no, it's getting darker and darker, but it's like red, dark, like it, yeah. I don't know what to call it. Strawberry blondie red. In some light, it looks very red. And there's a lot on my mom's side of the family, a lot of redheads, so she could be.
Interesting.
So I'm a little defensive on this comment to Nicole because I think redheads are called crazy. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know what's up, but now he's kind of burned that into
right.
my head.
So you can't not think it if you see her.
Yeah.
And Liev Schreiber was incredible, like perfectly cast for that.
I love him.
Love him.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I love him. I always thought he seemed like an asshole in interviews, but on this press tour with Nicole, I like him. So I don't know if because they're friends, he's more relaxed, he's more himself. I don't know, but I found him very likable for the first time ever. And I thought he was incredible in the role, so.
What show was he on? I'm trying to think of the show, the popular show that he was on. Oh, Ray Donovan. He was brilliant in that.
Okay. I never watched it.
He was brilliant in that. I thought he was really good. Actually, the whole cast on Ray Donovan is
Was
really
he the
good.
lead?
Yes.
See, I wouldn't have watched it because I thought I didn't like him. I watched this. I'm like, oh, I like Liev.
Yeah. No, he was really good in that. And that had like John Voight in it. It has a lot of big people in it.
Nice.
John Voight played his dad. So, yeah, it's really good.
And
I recommend it.
Okay, I'll try. Now that I've turned to fence on it. Turn to fence? That's not the sag. Turn to corner. Hop
I
to
really
fence.
like his brother too, Pablo Schreiber.
Oh,
He's
I don't know
really
him.
good.
What a name. Pablo Schreiber. Wow. And Eve Hewson, Bono's daughter. I thought she was incredible. Yes. What an actress.
Yes.
I mean, I know she's been acting a long time, but I feel this will catapult her into another stratosphere since I'm sure that was #1 globally on Netflix. Yeah, so cool. So she did great. And I started Only Murders in the Building, which I just started for season 4. Like I don't know. It didn't appeal to in season 4. Yeah, the new season.
You haven't seen 1 to 3
No,
yet.
no.
Oh, that's an interesting way to do a series. Just be random and pick season 4. Okay.
Well, listen, it hasn't been an issue. I mean, they do flashbacks sometimes, and I'm like, what's that about? But otherwise, it's fine. But I love it. I love Martin Short and Steve. Can't remember what's his last name. Steve Martin. Love them. And Selena Gomez is in it as well. Anyways, yeah, it's like a perfect feel good, silly, wacky. I have laughed out loud. It's not at all what I thought. I think that's the thing. The name is very misleading. Well, no, it is what it's about, but I thought it would be a different type of thing. And it's just a funny, silly, kind of like out there, quirky. It got me. But then
half an hour or is it an hour?
It's like 45 minutes or something. And I told friends and they're like, oh, I watched the first 2 seasons and then I couldn't get into it. And I'm like, well, start at season 4 and it's great.
I feel like I don't have enough time to watch TV.
I know. Well, you don't.
My best friend's always like, did you see this? Did you see this? And I'm like, no. And she's like, okay, add it to your list. And then the last time I talked to her, I'm like scrolling.
Which one am I going to pick?
You're like, okay. And then I feel this pressure that
Yeah.
I'm so behind
Yeah.
in keeping up with with all the different programs out there. But well, this podcast has really brought out all the stuff that I didn't, like you, think that I did and do. And here it is.
It's the minor version of people that go on reality TV and see themselves and how they are, and they're like, what? And we're just hearing ourselves and having all these realizations. So it hasn't come out yet, but we have an OnlyFans episode coming up. And since we did the research for that, my algorithm is so messed up, Kelli. Like, it's constantly on YouTube coming at me how to be a successful OnlyFans girl. And I don't, like, when does that go away? Is this in my algorithm forever?
I don't know until you sign up. And they've got you, and then they'll be like, see, it works.
Yeah, like the recommended podcasts are the ones about how to be a successful OnlyFans girl. It is so funny to me. That was at least 2 weeks ago we did that, and it is still like a very prevalent part of my life.
It's in my algorithm too, so I'm getting these girls that are OnlyFans girls, and I'm like
on your Instagram?
Okay. Yeah. And I'm like, no, not interested in that. That's not my jam, but there they are.
I know. I don't know what. I guess I could. Maybe if I go delete my cookies. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out something because it's too upsetting to see. But I want to give a shout out to a singer-songwriter, Daniel Liu. We were down at Granville Island the other day with Evie, and they have like the buskers, and it's the Fringe Festival right now. And okay. There's a ton of is buskers the right term? Street performers? I'm not sure what to call them. Like everywhere, like within every one block of Granville Island had a different live street performer going on. Cool. Yeah, it was really cool. A beautiful sort of folk singer. I can't remember what he said. He's a combination of like Bob Dylan and someone else. So lovely. And he wrote all his own songs. But anyways, one of his songs, I thought it was cool. He said, at one point it occurred to him, who started Visa and MasterCard? And for whatever reason, he went and looked it up. And he found their names. And then he wrote a letter to both of them. I think it's two different people. And the next day, or maybe it's an email, the guy who started Visa wrote him back and literally wrote him his life story in an email back to him. And he's like, for a year, I thought about it, and I finally realized I need to write a song about this. And he wrote a song that was really lovely and beautiful. I just thought that was so cool and amazing that the guy wrote him back the next day.
Really amazing.
He must have a lot of time on his hands.
Well, because he's
so rich.
overly wealthy.
Yeah, totally. So send him your letters if you got questions. I thought. Anyways, it was lovely, and I looked at danliu.ca. He really impressed me.
You want to give him a shout out?
Yeah, it was beautiful music. He sang. It was Evie was dancing to him. It was really nice. He did our wedding song randomly.
They can't see me like Houdini, move discreetly. I go.
The benefits of Mudwater Rest are relaxing, winding down, sleep quality, and immunity support. And of course, zero caffeine. What better way to end your evening while supporting your immunity and sleep? The Mudwater Starter Kit includes a free USB rechargeable frother as well, which is valued at $20 when you use our code. And I am now obsessed with frothing, and it holds a charge. It's over a month now. It's still holding a charge. If you're in the US, it also comes with free shipping. Mudwater.com, mudwtr.com/wellness brings you to our Misbehaving Woman extra discount options. $20 off if you subscribe to the monthly version, plus another 15%. Or just go for that 15% off your first starter. So anxiety, another big one we're here talking about today. And I will be sharing, I've had my own quite a long personal journey with anxiety. So I can share a bit about that and what worked for me. And I don't know if I have what didn't work. I have what did work at varying levels. And obviously in Kelli's practice, she has had many patients over the years, I'm sure, that have told you about their anxiety.
Yeah, I would say that anxiety is a really common one, whether people are coming in specifically for anxiety, but more so people coming in with other things, and then we we uncover that they also have anxiety, and a lot of people don't put things together, and they're actually all connected, because that's what TCM does, traditional Chinese medicine, is that everything is connected. So then I help people kind of bridge those things together and help them in that way.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I also have a lot of family members. I don't have anxiety. I've never had anxiety, but I am the person, which I think there'll be a lot of other people out there too who don't have anxiety but have lived with somebody with anxiety or have family members with anxiety, and that too is a journey, and we'll touch on that a little bit today too.
I've helped a couple friends whose partners had really bad anxiety, and they would sort of vent to me a bit, and I get it. It's so hard to understand it if you haven't had it. Not you who works in the field, like you're a healer, but for them, it's almost like when, I've also had irrational fears in my life, and people, they're like, it's just that, like, get over it. And you can't make someone understand. We know it's an irrational fear, but it's a very real fear. And with anxiety, it's very real when it's happening. And I think it's almost impossible to explain. But when I've explained it to those people's partners, they kind of have a lot more empathy for the person and a little bit more understanding of how it's so, when it's bad, it's like constantly in your mind, constantly, like you're so distracted from trying to not have the anxiety that you can't be the best partner you want to be. It's hard to focus on your partner because you're just trying to get through moment to moment to moment.
Yeah. And I think for what my kind of journey with it is that there's even moments where you almost feel like the person is narcissistic because they're so focused on themselves. They cannot take in anything from anybody else. It's not even just their partner. It's like, it's nobody. Like, it's just, they're so overwhelmed. And I will say, from my own personal journey of being on the other side of it, it's really hard to watch somebody go through this. And yes, I have been the person that's just like, okay, I don't understand, because how they saw something happening and how I saw something happening were worlds apart. And in my journey of having to learn about anxiety, and even in the beginning when people came in, like I didn't even know anything about anxiety. I knew there were points for anxiety, but to actually have that personal journey to be with someone who has crippling anxiety and being in that darkness and that doom and gloom and not being able to, get themselves out of it, it's really, really hard. And for the person on the outside, it doesn't make sense because it's not logical.
Exactly, yeah.
But what I had to realize is that for the person going through it, it is real. It is
all-encompassing.
All-encompassing, and it is real. And it may be irrational, but it doesn't matter because to them it is real. Yeah. And what you said is, I don't think all people know that it's not real. I think that not everyone with anxiety, especially I think in the beginning, you do think that this is real because it feels real.
Yeah.
But it's not real.
Like some people end up in the ER because they're having anxiety symptoms and don't realize it's just anxiety in their, not just, but it's anxiety in their body physically manifesting.
Well, I've had patients who've gone to the hospital, they thought they were having a heart attack. Yeah. Like it's that real to them, and it's this physical.
There's a real physical response.
There's a physical response, absolutely. Yeah. And one of the first things that kind of helped me, besides having somebody with anxiety tell me what's going on, there's a book, and it's called Anxiety RX.
I've heard of that.
It's by a medical doctor, and his name is Russell Kennedy. And that book is very interesting to me because he is somebody who had anxiety, and he had it from trauma. So he believes all anxiety is from past trauma. So it can be physical trauma, emotional trauma.
I would sign off on that.
Yeah, and what he says is that the amygdala, which is a part of our brain, and that is where... Okay, so he talks about the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, and they are directly related to anxiety. And it's where the fear is initiated. And so I like how he explains it. And I think for anyone who might not understand what's going on with them, he talks about this alarm that goes off in the body, and that alarm goes off, and how the mind and the body are connected. And he says it can't be one or the other. They both play a role in it. And it's really fascinating. And I probably in explaining it can't do the book justice, but I will say that we will leave a link, in our, what do you call that?
In our bio?
in our notes. In our notes.
Oh, in our notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll leave a link in the notes. So if you want to check out this book, I think it's worth it, to at least kind of have an understanding. And this is somebody from a medical doctor who actually has had anxiety and says that, he's cured his anxiety, and he's done it in natural ways. Now, he did do some psychedelics, but he's not actually recommending that people go and do that route. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. Anything that I say that worked for me, Kelli raised this before we started recording.
Yeah.
I am definitely not a doctor.
Yeah.
I like to say I'm married to a scientist. I don't think that qualifies me. So it's just what worked for me. And you have to talk to your own doctor. If I say something that you think you want to try, then definitely ask your doctor, their opinion on that, and have them be guiding you through that journey. Don't just do what I say without consulting a professional.
Yeah, 100%. And what we had discussed before we started this was, number one, just to be really clear, neither of us are medical doctors, and that what we wanted to do is talk about our own journeys with anxiety, and we wanted to be able to recommend a few natural things. But if you're on medication, don't go off your medication.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if you want to take in some of the things that we're going to talk about today, again, if you're on medication, and we're going to talk about some supplements that are really good and adaptogens, talk to your doctor before you add anything else in.
Yeah.
So this is just us having a discussion based on our own life experience with
Yeah. And in case, I think most people are familiar, it's funny when you said originally in your practice, it was sort of new, people coming with that. And I thought, when I was young and having anxiety, it definitely there wasn't an awareness like there is today around it. People didn't talk about it. I wouldn't have known how to label it. I remember going to my doctor and telling him things that were happening to me, and he never said to me, "You're having anxiety." I think he knew, but I also think he didn't want to give me that label or something. I don't know what was going on there, but it was so weird for anyone that had it younger, because you really didn't know what was happening to you. You think you're the only one. I think a lot of people my age started using drugs or alcohol to self-manage their anxiety.
Absolutely.
I certainly would drink. If I was going out and I suddenly felt anxiety, I would have alcohol, which is so messed up, because then when you're hungover, it makes your anxiety worse, right? Your body is physically going through all these things.
Alcohol is linked to depression too.
Yeah,
to make
it's like the
depression
worst.
Yeah.
Too. But there's generalized anxiety, there's panic disorder anxiety, there's social anxiety, and often, as Kelli just said, it co-occurs with people that have depression or a disordered eating or ADHD, all kinds. It's so complicated that I think everyone's journey is probably a little bit unique anyway with it.
Well, and I think that's one of the things I was talking with a counselor, because I'm, again, trying to understand anxiety, and this person in particular, his practice was based on seeing people with anxiety and depression and traumatic events that have happened to them. That's what they specialized in. So I was like, a million questions, and I want to know. And one of the things that she said was that anxiety and depression go hand in hand. And so people can also go back and forth. So they can, be in anxiety and depression and kind of go back and forth. And I thought that was really interesting, because I think sometimes people don't think they have depression. No, it's just anxiety, but they may have both. And
And for me, my anxiety, after being so bad so long, led to me being depressed.
Yeah.
Right? Because eventually you're like, I can't handle this anymore. Like that's when it's so big in your life, literally crippling, then
What's the cause? What's the effect? I don't know. But someone who wasn't prone to depression, I ended up extremely depressed when it was really, really bad.
Yeah. And she also talked a lot about the nervous system, which I really found interesting. That the nervous system is directly related to this, and how your nervous system is able to respond to things that are happening. And so I was saying to her, that's really interesting, because I had quite the childhood, and was kind of surprised based on, the things that we talked about with trauma. And I said, I didn't understand. I said, but I don't have anxiety. Wouldn't I have anxiety? And then she said, well, different people have different coping skills. So one of the things that we talked about was, as a child, my mother had, from a very early age, had taught us how to do meditation. And even though she never referred to it as meditation, we would, my mom, my sister, and I, we would sit, we would hold hands in a circle.
What did she call it?
I can't remember. Honestly, maybe she called it breathing. I don't remember. I just remember doing it with her, and we did it a lot. And I remember as a teenager, she did refer to it as meditation, but as a little girl, I don't remember it being called that. Maybe she did, but I really don't remember that. But I spent a lot of my childhood doing breathing exercises, doing these breathing things with her, and yoga. So this counselor was saying, when I was asking her all these questions, she was just saying that I probably just had these tools from a very young child, and have always been able to use these throughout my life. And it really made me think about how important it is to have tools from a very young age.
And we have a podcast we're doing on nervous system regulation, separate to this. But
Yeah. And I was thinking that if you can teach children from a very young age how to self-regulate, their nervous system will have a better ability to handle any responses in the world that are happening. So negative responses, I don't know what else to call them, or traumatic responses. You'll have you'll have a better chance of being able to help yourself.
I wish I knew his name. A beautiful quote. I think he's a doctor or researcher. I saw a talk he gave, and he said, true generational wealth is teaching your kids how to manage and regulate their nervous system in healthy ways. And like, you figure out how to manage yours, and you show that example and teaching them that. And you think about all the things that impacts in a life.
Yes.
Of being able to healthfully manage your nervous system.
Absolutely.
I thought, like, as someone who struggled, I like, that is amazing. That is a
And
gift.
to be able to self-soothe, that's a really big thing. So if I can self-soothe, then I don't have to go for the drugs. I don't have to go for the alcohol. I don't have to, and whatever it is that you want to fill yourself, whether it's sex or shopping or
there's lots of good
gaming,
ones.
whatever. There's tons of stuff that people are doing to try and fill that. But the unfortunate thing is that none of those things work.
It will never fill it.
No.
So when you just talked about breathing, that reminded me, I do want to give, I don't know, I just want to say, so for me, my trigger when my anxiety was bad was breath. If someone mentioned my breath, I became, I don't know what it's called, but like, I guess the automatic systems of the body, I became very aware of. And I was so aware of my breath. That was like, so I couldn't do breathing exercises, or if someone say, just take a deep breath, that would send me spiraling to a thing. I was just constantly like, so I am going to talk about breath when I talk about, ultimately I got to a place from, I had to do step like A, B, C, D, E, F, and then I got to a place where breath could soothe me. So I am going to bring that up, and maybe someone's not ready to, if that's also, I don't know if I was unique in that, but maybe someone's not ready to hear
I've
that stuff
definitely
right
had patients who
Okay.
it's really struggled to take a deep breath, and for whatever reason, that's a trigger for them. So
You're too aware of that. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to call that out. So there was at least a solid 2 years of my life where I did have what I think could be described as debilitating anxiety. It is a miracle to me to look back on how I somehow functioned through life in a not great way. I was seeing a therapist at the time, on and off.
And did you find that the talk therapy helped?
So it wasn't
I don't think I was with the right person. But it probably did help in some ways, but it definitely wasn't helping with the anxiety. Later, different techniques, and I'll get to that, is what I would say helped me heal, if I can use that word, my anxiety, getting to trauma and like hypnotherapy for trauma and EMDR, very specialized around trauma. That's another thing to connect is my anxiety actually was triggered by claustrophobia, but I didn't know that that's what I had. I was so unaware of it. So any situation I was in, and that could be in a social situation, where if I'm somewhere and I don't feel like I can leave if I want to, I would start to feel anxiety. So that could physically manifest. So at that time when it was really bad, if I was driving a car and it's a red light and I can't get out of the traffic, I'd start to get really anxious. I heard someone say once, oh, I don't like being on a plane. Like, I don't like being in that tin can in the sky and I can't get off if I want. And it hadn't occurred to me yet. I was still young. And as soon as that thought came in my mind, I couldn't go on a plane without taking like a sleeping pill. And it was like, I had to be a cargo on the plane, like knock me out. And when I get to the other side, because if I was on there and aware, like there's no way I could do that. And I only ever came close to having like a full-blown panic attack, I think once on a plane. I didn't. I had drugs with I don't know if I took my sleeping. I think I took a bunch of anti-anxiety meds for that plane, which was only the 2 times in my life I took drugs for anxiety. And on a bus, which that's actually, God, this is kind of a beautiful story. I'd come home from Ireland. I was going for my cancer checkup at the cancer agency, staying in Tsawwassen at my parents', taking the bus there. The bus is in like rush hour traffic. There's 8 lanes. There's nowhere to go, even the bus lane. And I started to get really I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have a panic attack, which for me was always just the fear. Like I'd start to feel anxiety. And then it was just that, oh, I'm going to have a panic attack. And I had such a fear of that. Like that was my fear. When they say anxiety is like you're worrying about the future, something that hasn't happened yet. That was the thing that kept me going.
Yeah. Well, they say that the trigger is from the past.
Yeah.
But you're always worried.
Which was me feeling trapped. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the amygdala goes off and that fear response. Yes. And then they're saying that, oh, but you're also worried about the future. So
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard that.
And that's why I say that book is
Anxiety
RX.
Yeah, I'll read that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so luckily I had prepared and I knew in the past that distraction worked for me. If I was in a situation, as long as I could distract myself, I usually would be okay eventually. So my husband had recorded videos for me on my phone and I pull out my phone and I just start watching the videos he'd made for me. And it was enough to kind of distract me. As soon as I could get off the bus, I did, got a taxi. Weirdly, it's like one of those moments where there's an angel in your life, I feel. I get in the taxi. I tell the driver the address. He knows it. He goes, you're going to the cancer agency? I just said the actual address. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, my daughter, she's 6. We go there with her. Oh. And I was like, oh, my God. He starts telling me his story. She has the same type of cancer I had. And he starts telling me all about her thing. And I just thought, this is too weird. Like, if you don't believe in coincidences, that my taxi driver, I don't know, it was just very surreal. One of the most profound moments, I think, of my life, as I'm talking to him about his 6-year-old going through what I went through at 26, right? Wow. And how she's handling it and her strength. And oh my God, it was so beautiful. I totally forgot about my anxiety as we went through the traffic and went all the way there, and he wished me well. I felt so bonded and connected to this man. And I believe that was some sort of angelic universal moment, whatever people believe or don't believe. That was too bizarre for me. Anyways, where was I starting this? Oh yeah, I eventually realized that, every time I had anxiety, I was in a situation where I couldn't get out of. And it was my father-in-law that pointed it out to me eventually. I said, oh yeah, I don't like being in this because I want to be able to leave if I can't. And he goes, oh, that's claustrophobia. And I was like, what? And I was in my 30s then. And that's when things started to make sense for me. And I think knowing the cause, although not the real cause, but the cause of the anxiety is what led me to be able to go on my healing journey. Because before that, I was kind of going through life never knowing what set this off for me. Of course, it's your thoughts. Now, if I'm with someone and they start to feel it,
they're like, oh, I'm feeling anxious. I don't know why. I'm like, what are the thoughts in the back of your mind? Because it's, you know, it's always the thoughts in your back of your mind that are going off, and that's making you start to go there.
Yeah.
And then
it's a situation that so as you get closer, it can be like walking in, say, like there was a traumatic event at the grocery store. So as you get closer to the grocery store, you think it's a grocery store, but it's not. It's what happened. Say.
And people start avoiding the grocery store.
Yes.
Like you start, that's the crazy thing. You end up with so many places that you have to avoid because you've now had an anxiety reaction there. It actually is almost comical when I think back to like all the places I couldn't go anymore. And then weirdly, when I moved to Dublin, I was pretty good for a while because I didn't have all those places yet.
Yes.
Over time, it built up, right? And actually, I won't get that. Maybe in me saying what works for me, I could kind of say, because I can just imagine me, I don't know, however many years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, thinking, tell me what works. You guys have been talking, just get to the good stuff, you know? You're like, but anyway, realizing what triggered me definitely was a thing. So the first thing I would say, and these are just the basics, this isn't what healed. I do believe it comes from trauma. But I am very sensitive to caffeine as I sit here having a coffee right now. This is a real abnormality for me. But getting off caffeine was a huge thing. I realized every morning I'd go have a cup of coffee and start to feel anxious. Just the physical reactions coffee sets off in the body. If you're someone prone to anxiety, it's not for you. Get off it. Like it's going to make your heart start beating faster. It's going to make your breath get a little advanced. It's going to make you sweat. All the things that are also anxiety triggers happen when you have caffeine. So I would say, yeah, just get off. That's just science. That's not me. You know, like I just think get off it. But PSA, when you quit caffeine, at least for me, the withdrawals are wild and brutal. Like the first day, you're a zombie. You get the craziest headache. No painkillers can get rid of the headache. By day 2, you can barely keep your eyes open. Day 3, you start to feel a little bit normal. By day 4, it's okay, but it is a wild ride. Every time I'm going through it, because I've quit coffee so many times that I keep going back to it. Then I'm on decaf for like 3 years. I go back. Right now, I'm going back. I was saying to my husband, how is this legal? This shouldn't be legal. Look at the withdrawals I'm going through just by getting coffee out of my body. Anyway, so there's that. I just want to say it's tough. But then after, in the mornings and throughout the day, you're not having as many triggers in your body if it's really bad right now. Even decaf coffee has some caffeine, so I'm even sensitive to that. Yeah. Like I'll be up at night if I have decaf. Chocolate, people don't realize the really good chocolate, like dark chocolate, the good stuff, has a level of caffeine in it. And for some reason, like candy, like hardcore candy with a lot of sugar, I've noticed, which I don't, thank God, one of the only things I don't, you know, I like carbs, I like sweets, but candy doesn't do it for me in that way. But if I do have it, I start to notice the physical reactions in my body. And because I've been on such a journey of healing, I now am able to break out and think, I'm not feeling anxious right now. There's no thoughts at the back of my mind. Oh, but I'm having these symptoms in my body. What's going on? I'll be like, oh, you know, I ate that thing of gummy bears, or like, oh, I had that coffee earlier. And I can know it's the physical thing that is causing me my body, and then I'm actually calm, and I can then ride that out knowing mentally I'm fine, because I'm like, oh no, this is just a physical trigger that's making me aware of those old things that were torture when I was having them before. We already talked about alcohol. It's so brutal if you have anxiety. And I know it's the go-to for so many, and I did that for years and years and years. I get it. We use it to feel calmer when we start feeling anxious, but then the next day it's so much worse. Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, when it was really bad for me, I actually think that is how, I would say I was white-knuckling it through life. That's the best way I can say it, because it was like literally every second, every moment, every waking moment and asleep. I would wake up still being aware of my breath, like, or my husband at the time, how many husbands has she had? Would say, he'd like wake me up and go, are you okay? You're breathing really fast. So even and I would be like, don't tell me about my breath. You know, it was like a whole thing. It was like the worst thing you could do was alert me to my breath. Literally every waking moment. But The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, really, it was the first time I started to become aware of my thoughts and the present moment and be like, just what's in the now. Stop. What is my subconscious mind thinking? Oh, that's stressing me out. What's really going on in this exact moment? And
even if you don't have anxiety, that book is amazing. It is such a powerful book.
Yeah, true. Actually, lots of people probably have different journeys that book set them on, but for anxiety, it's amazing.
It's really amazing. Journaling or like typing out all the thoughts swirling in your mind when it's like a lot of chaos, which I can get into that place. And I just like madly type them all out, just get them out of your mind, get them out, help your subconscious out and like bringing it forward and really realizing, okay, what is all this madness I'm thinking? And I always delete them, but it can just help to get that brain dump of what's making me feel this way. I know you might say like, what does that really do? But I promise you that would really help me just like get it out. Going for walks helped me a lot. This is after also, I would say, I got the breath part under control, which happened from therapy. But just like not exercise. I know they recommend exercise, but that would have set me off. But just like being in nature, helping your body calm. The way that our bodies are actually built is nature is meant to reset our nervous systems naturally. We're supposed to be living in the forest or the mountains or, together. That's how we're designed to just naturally. So,
it's super grounding. And that's the part of it is that like in Chinese medicine, a big part of it, and you and I've talked about this before, is just like there's too much chi energy in what we refer to the upper jiao or up in the head. So there's too much heat, too much energy up.
Oh, that's not just me.
And so it's trying to bring, that's one of the things we do with acupuncture is try and bring some of that energy down. So you've got way too much going on. So we want to kind of bring that down. And there's an acupuncture at the bottom of your foot, and that helps bring all the energy down. But that's why I really recommend barefoot, being out in nature as much as you can, because all of that helps that energy come down so that you feel more grounded.
Earthing, grounding, yeah. Ooh, people can Google, right?
Yeah. Earthing, I forgot it. That's what it was called. Yeah. But being able to connect with the earth, because the earth has got so much energy. It's so powerful. And when you're in the trees, it's just I don't know who is
physically
anxious in the trees. Yeah. No, it's just this thing that helps bring that energy down, and just the fact that you're moving, walking.
Slowly walk, or on the sand, grass. I do it a lot in like really soft, good grass at a park by my place.
I love the sand.
But wait, Kelly, on a totally selfish personal note, I thought it was my chaotic brain. Does everybody have that where they have so much chi up around their head?
Yes. So if you have too much chi up in the head, there's a lot of different things. Like you can, there's like headaches, migraines, it's everything coming up, but anxiety, depression, a big one when you've got way too much energy up in the head. So what you want to do, and what we're trying to do, is bring that energy down. And that's one of the things I like to do I like to suggest, and even myself, I do it because I think it's so powerful, especially at nighttime before I go to bed. I love to just do the breathing into the count of 3, out to the count of 6. It's that nice, long, slow exhale that stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, and that is your rest and digest system. So we want to get you into that. So for me, going to bed, I'm out like a light. I don't even I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 5 of them. I usually asleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's never happened to me in my life.
I'm unfortunate. I'm a very good sleeper.
Wow.
I'm going to knock on wood because I'm a very, very good sleeper.
Wow.
I love to, I can be in bed and out. Not as quick as some people. Some people can literally get into bed, close their eyes, and they're...
My husband's like that.
Yeah, they're out like a light, but I get into bed and I just start the breath work, or I also do the gratitude. I think that's also a really good thing when we're talking about our thoughts and where our thoughts are. I like to spend and I don't spend a ton of time, but I'll run through a list of things that I'm grateful for the day, do my breath work, I'm out.
Wow, that's like a fantasy to me. I can't even imagine it.
And I know anxiety is really, really bad for most people first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's another, something to think about. If the breath is not triggering for you and you can do that, that's a great way to stimulate the breath by doing the long exhales. But also just to work on the thoughts, start with what you're grateful for.
Yep.
Start running through that list, and when that negative voice is going to the doom and gloom of everything, then, try and go through your list of things that you're grateful for. Yeah. And if you can't think of anything, then start thinking about the things that throughout the day that you might be grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah. The worst time is middle of the night. So some people will wake up with that anxiety panic, like 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
And our brains are wired to do that. A therapist talked me and my husband through that, actually. I didn't know that. So again, ask your therapist or ask a professional. But for some reason, we are wired to really focus on the negative. I think it's like a safety thing. You're in the dark, you're at night.
It is a safety thing. It's a survival thing.
Yeah.
So that's what the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. That is like, if there's danger, you know what I mean? This is a survival technique. Unfortunately, this is going off when there isn't a real danger. Yeah. And that's part of the divine issue. Now, I'm going to say this, and we'll do a fact check later and see, but I, for some reason, think that, is it Andrew Huberman? I think he was talking about cortisol, and because your cortisol is highest in the morning, and I think what he was referring to is like to not drink coffee in the morning. You don't need any stimulants in the morning because that's when you've got your highest level of cortisol. But that can also, if I remember correctly, is also linked to anxiety in the morning too. So that may be one of the reasons why the anxiety is so bad
when you wake up. So middle of the night and when you wake up. It's like never ending. But this knowledge is power to realize, this is why this is happening. Like my brain is it's not me. My brain is wired this way. And once you know that, you can get more back in control. Yeah. Like you said, okay, there's nothing dangerous right now, present moment. What am I grateful for? Yeah. Oh yeah, I want to say this. A therapist showed me this trick, and I don't know if it has a name, but I think I was when I was taking the train, and I'd start to get that claustrophobic sort of like vibe. Sometimes, a train can be so packed and you're stop to stop. And it's something where she would, any object you have in your purse, in your pocket, in your bag, and hold it just a little bit in front of your face. Say I'm like a foot away, most away in front of my eyesight. And you look at it and you focus on it close up, and then you just look slightly past it. So it's now blurred in your close up vision as you're looking past it for a few seconds. Go back to looking at it close up so you're seeing it clearly, and then defocus, look past it, defocus. And there is, they've proven that this does something in the brain, and that really does calm the brain, that little trick. Amazing. It's totally amazing. And I did it a couple times and it worked. And then you could say, that's just a distraction thing that she's getting you to do. But no, there's like research backing up that somehow that having our eyes focus, defocus does something. So that's a little trick.
But even if it is a distraction, which you're saying it's not, that's good. But I'm saying like, okay, so just say it was a distraction. This is a way that you can help yourself in the moment.
Exactly, to get through whatever.
To get through whatever you need to get through in this moment. Yep. So use what you can, because sometimes these little tools will help you in the moment, and maybe it won't be your big picture, but maybe it'll be something that's going to help you in the moment to be able to get yourself to a situation where you might feel safer.
Yes. So actually healing it, I've kind of teased that, was definitely therapy, and CBT. Therapy was the first step for me. So
what's the CBT?
The cognitive behavior. Oh, okay. So becoming aware of your thoughts, like kind of what I've said in the moment. What am I thinking? What was I just thinking like 30 seconds ago, 60 seconds ago? Oh, I was worrying about this thing. Oh, I was scared of this. And it will have nothing to do with what's going on at the time. When it was really bad for me, I could be in a business meeting and we're in a room and it's like say 6 people at a boardroom sort of circular table, but someone closed the door. Now I'm feeling a little bit like I couldn't get up and leave this situation. Socially, it would be weird. I'd have to come up with I start to panic a little bit. I can't get out of here if I want to. So for me, it would be connected to my claustrophobia. But so just, there's nothing, I can just get up and walk out that door if I want to. I can make up something, just kind of like getting in the moment. Why am I having that fear? Anyways, CBT is really becoming aware of your thoughts for the first time so that you have the power, because otherwise you're kind of letting this chaos brain just guide you through life instead of harnessing it for a real superpower. And, there's so much kind of junk thoughts that come in and out of our mind that you want to just kind of harness that as much as you can. And so CBT, I highly, highly recommend. And you can do that virtually now. And there's a lot, there's kind of much more affordable virtual therapy after the pandemic that got big. Yeah. I will say it takes sometimes finding different therapists. For me, like the first maybe 1 or 2 didn't really resonate with me. And then by the third one, it's like, this is my person and they help me. So that was probably the big place where I finally kind of got it where I wasn't white knuckling life. I'll say that. Now, also at the time when it was so bad, I had a massive thing going on in my personal life with my first husband that I don't feel comfortable. That's his story to share, but there was a huge thing that was causing me to be anxious all the time as well, that I wasn't connecting. Like, oh, well, this is going on in your life, and that might be why your system is so on alert. There's something else happening. Hypnosis really helped me massively get down to a place where that helped me with my claustrophobia, which was kind of the root for me. And again, the first one I worked with in Ireland really helped me. I got on a plane and I was happy to be there, and I didn't have any, like, it was, I thought, a miracle at the time. But then I moved back here and I wasn't done my journey. And then eventually I tried someone, they weren't maybe the most skilled at it. I found another woman, she's incredible at it. I used to always just carry like benzo, some sort of, anxiety medication. I never took it, but I had to have it with me because my fear was, what if I have a panic attack at this place, right? That was the constant, like if I started to feel it, I'd go to that fear. And so I just had to have that in case I needed to take it, even though I never took it. So I'd have this like 3-year-old prescription in my pocket that never left my side. And if I were to leave the house and forgot it, I would have to get home as quick as I could to get it. So it was brutal. And I was on my journey to wanting a baby. And I thought, I don't know how I can be a mom and be having this thing, right? So I really, really was committed to, I've got to work on healing this thing. So I did a lot of sessions. And then, I haven't had to have that. I guess it was like my crutch for years now, since doing the hypnotherapy, which does go to the root. You're finding all different roots, I will say. It's usually going back in time, and you just keep going back farther and farther and farther till you find that thing that your subconscious mind is remember. I don't know. Find an expert in hypnotherapy, but definitely. And then EMDR was very powerful for me, specifically around flying. So I saw a woman, it's like a 3-hour session. I think I saw her 3 times. And I went to the point where I would have to take drugs just at the thought once I'm in the airport about getting on the plane and being trapped on there and before all this, I used to love to fly. Like I was that person that I love being on the plane. I like the food. I love the whole experience. I love just watching the movies for hours, and then couldn't even get on. So it brought me back to my love of flying and, being able to enjoy flying again and really love it, which was to me I didn't think I'd get on a plane again in life. So that was like a miracle. And that was EMDR specifically for that trauma and figuring out, here's this reactor, this trigger, let's go back and what was the original sort of.
So for the EMDR, do you have to know what your trauma is?
No, You don't know. Yeah. It's kind of, and I don't even know if there's different ways because I did only do MDR. Well, actually, that's not true. My other hypnotherapist, she would do it a bit. She didn't call it that, but now that I know how EMDR works, I realized she would do that a couple times. But no, I didn't know. And it's so bizarre. You don't even think anything's happening. You're like, what? Like she's touching you on the leg while you're talking, or you're in this hypnosis state, or just like making a sound. And it's just, I don't know. I don't understand. I don't even want to try to explain how it changes the pathways and it brings you out of it or something like that. But all I can say is that it really works for me in a way that seems like a miracle. I didn't think I'd go on a plane ever again, and then I could go on many flights by myself. Yeah. And I want to be really honest, since I got to that place, now there's been a pandemic and I haven't flown. So there's a part of me that's curious, am I still going to love flying? Is that really healed? I don't know yet. And I don't want to say I'm totally healed in case I'm not. I do have that fear that's still there. Like it doesn't go away. But anyways, find a person that's right for you. I saw a couple hypnotherapists that didn't really help me. And I think it's the skill, like everything else. Maybe they're great talk therapists, but maybe they're not. Hypnotherapy is not their thing. So if you can have someone that recommends someone, I think that's maybe the best way to find someone who's really skilled at it, someone who's helped someone else. I think, EMDR, I think for core beliefs really gets there in a very quick fashion. And we've already talked about these. We actually talked about a lot of them, but in the worthfulness.com program, I have like 10 or 11 self-regulation techniques. And I think we already said we'll do a whole episode on that. So we don't, I don't need to say any more, but just learning to manage my nervous system in healthy ways as an adult also, just like you said, it's connected to the nervous system. And just the more you can keep that neutral, I guess, I don't know, throughout the day.
Yeah, you want it balanced.
Balanced, that's the word.
And balance looks like it's not about being in the parasympathetic all day long. It's not about that. Balance is about being able to go from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic and go back and forth when it's appropriate. And I think some people have the misconception that, oh, you always want to be in the parasympathetic. Well, no, because things are going to happen. So once you go into the sympathetic, the goal is to be able to then, when you are in a safe place or things have calmed down, you can go into the parasympathetic. So it's this beautiful balance of being able to go back and forth. But I think with the anxiety, you get stuck in the sympathetic. And when you get there, things just spiral and get worse.
Yes.
And you can't find a way to get to the parasympathetic. So
Yes.
then that's the unbalance.
And I just want to say, like, for me, when it was so bad for those couple years, and then coming out of that, it was probably another, I don't know how many years, 5 years. I was a little bit agoraphobic for a few periods. Again, because I was so scared of having a panic attack when I went out. So then it was like, I didn't want to leave the house. What if I had one? When it was really bad, I would call it torture, like at the time. And that's when you get so depressed. It changes your life. You're like, I can't live this way. I just want to acknowledge that it was really, really, really bad. Yeah. And, I had a therapist at the time who said, no, I don't think people heal from anxiety. And I've told other therapists that, and they're like, that therapist should be reported. Like, it's not true. You can heal it. Even if you can't fully heal it, you can get to a place where you can live life again and enjoy life again.
Absolutely.
And be happy. And that would have sounded impossible to me at the time. So I just want to make sure anyone who's really struggling and is looking for, like, desperate for that answer, I just want you to know it was that bad for me. And I did get through a journey on the other side. And I don't know. I'm 46. I don't know what this journey will be, if something could come up, but at least I have the tools that I know. I did heal it for, over 10 years. I've been doing quite well. And so, yeah, just, I would say, explore different options, talk to your doctor. I didn't go the medication route at the time. And I think when it was so bad and I was really white knuckling life, I probably could have really used those just so I could get to a place of getting to see people like therapists sooner and whatnot. So I think everyone has a different path and journey, and talk to your doctor. I just want to say, in doing the research for this, I didn't try this, but I was looking at what do they have now? Because it's been a long time for me that I haven't, I need to focus on this. And there was a thing called transcranial magnetic stimulation. And this is approved by the FDA. So Anxiety and Depression Association of America listed it as a treatment option. It sounded fascinating to me. It's been treating people with OCD. It's pain-free. There's very few side effects. It seems kind of amazing. So if I was in that place, I would want to go explore this, ask my doctor about it, look into it. It seems sort of like a natural, I don't know. But if this association is recommending, it's something to check out.
Yeah.
Do the research yourself. Sounded interesting to me. And I don't know if we have that in Canada either.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway I want people to have with today's episode is to know that, number one, you're not alone. There is millions of people with anxiety. And to not give up, to keep searching. And for me in life, everything is about having more tools. And the more tools that you have, the better equipped you are when things happen, because you can pull from the different tools that you have. And what we're saying is, when we said about, being able to look at something in front of you and then look away. I don't know what you called that, but
I don't know the name of it. Unfortunately, I don't remember if it had one.
To me, that's just a tool that you can use in the moment of something to happen, or whether or not, you do your therapy, or whether or not you're doing your acupuncture, or whatever it is that you're doing your breathing, you're learning different meditation techniques, and I've had people say meditation doesn't work. And then I'm always like, okay, but there are tons of different types of meditations.
Right.
So that might not work for you, but there might be a different type that you might resonate with. So keep exploring, and know that I think you're right. Some people can heal their anxiety all the way. Some people may not be able to get to where they want to be, but with a bunch of different tools and techniques, they're able to manage it so they can live a completely normal life.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want to do today, is give you the ability to be able to have more tools and to check out different things and to read books. There's some great books out there. I was looking on YouTube, and there's some really great talks about anxiety. So just take in as much information as you can so that you can understand what's going on in your body, and know that maybe the response is the same in everybody, but the trigger is going to be different. The trauma might be different. The situation may be different. So you have to figure out what is going on in your body. What is that's causing this to happen? So we cannot help you with that, but we can suggest some different techniques. And that's why if you can do these different techniques, whether it's the hypnotherapy or whatever, or the EMDR. Yeah. Sorry, what is it?
EMDR.
EMDR. Then you might be able to figure out what is your trigger, so that you have, I don't know, I always say, knowledge is power. And then you take your power back, because now it's not controlling you. You have the power to be able to say, okay, I know what's happening, and this technique works, and this tool that I have can help me. And and Becky's come a long way, like to know that, living 5 years would seem like an eternity.
Oh, you're aware of every waking second. It is really torture. It's a mental torture.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you pointed out people aren't alone. I was blown away when I started to look up. The numbers are growing. Over 40 million adults in the States alone suffer from anxiety. That's 20% of the population. Anxiety Depression Association of America has that number. I don't know if there's other numbers. And just a fact that the prescription rates for Xanax climb at a rate of 10% every year. It's more and more people. So you're definitely not alone.
Yeah.
It's definitely partly, I think, the state of the world. And just, oh God, yeah, that was the other sad thing. 32% of the people 13 to 18, they were more likely to start to use substances to manage their anxiety. Because when you're young, it's weird. You think you're the only one in the world.
Yeah.
And there's this weird, it's not weird. I understand it. But you have shame. So even when I was going through it, I was so ashamed. I didn't tell a soul. Nobody knew that I was feeling this way and dealing with this, except my husband at the time knew, don't bring up my breath. That would be it. So just knowing that there's literally hundreds of millions of people across the whole earth that are trying to figure this out. Yeah. You're not alone, but also that people have figured it out, and people that it was really, really bad for. So yes. Yeah. There is hope, as you said. That's the thing. There's hope, and everyone has a different thing that works for them. So just keep exploring different things you hear about, learn about. The funny thing is, I'm thinking at the time, if I heard someone talking about anxiety, I would be scared of what they were going to say that it would trigger my anxiety. So depending on where you're at, I understand that maybe you want to ask a friend to listen to this and then tell you, because you'd be scared of hearing something you don't want to be just focusing on it. You're trying to forget about it while it's happening. It's this weird dichotomy that you're just, it's a difficult one, but.
Yeah. And I was going to say too that I know that from some family members, once they realized that it was actually anxiety that they had because they didn't know, and that they've been living with this since a child. And Becky and I both this weekend, I watched it last night. I think you watched it this weekend.
Yeah,
there's
Friday,
a Netflix documentary. Is it documentary? Yeah, a documentary called Daughters. And if you have not seen it, grab the tissue box, because my goodness.
Full tissue box.
It is, it is something. And this morning the first thing I said is, oh my gosh, I watched Daughters. And what I realized, one of the things that I took away from that was how young these girls are starting with anxiety and depression and suicide and everything else that goes along. Separation anxiety was one of the girls. And the premise of Daughters is that these young girls get to go to prison, and the prison allows a father-daughter dance. And it is so beautiful in so many ways, and so heart-wrenching in others. So, yeah.
An incredible woman that started that initiative.
Incredible
wow.
woman.
Just the concept. She was working with teen girls anyway, and then I guess a girl's dad was in prison. She brought up this, and so she had the idea. So she had all the girls write letters
to that particular prison, I think, or the authority.
Well, she had brought up a father-daughter dance, and then one of the girls had said, "Oh, my dad can't come; he's in prison."
Yeah.
And then another girl said, "Well, why don't we go to the prison?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Wow, okay." So she contacted the prison, and
They all wrote letters to
and the prison
said, no one's ever asked me this before.
yeah,
Sure.
the head prison person.
Yeah, superintendent, I think. Superintendent of prison.
The warden? The warden.
Yeah.
Yes. Said no one had ever asked, and that's an absolute yes. And the statistics are staggering. So the offenders who have their daughters come in and they participate. They've got a 9-week class that these inmates have to go. These dads have to take
once a week
before they can be with their daughters. And I love this. I think this is so beautiful that they do this for the inmates. And then they prep them for what's going to happen, the emotional highs, the emotional lows. Beautiful. They meet with them afterwards. Beautiful.
And they say, we've never talked like this with each other in prison before.
Yeah, because men are connecting with men, and I love they've got them in a circle. They're sharing. It's beautiful. They cry together. They hug. It's so beautiful to see these men. But after this, 95% of these men do not reoffend.
And most of them were lifetime reoffenders.
Yes. And the one that we both connected with, this man, his daughter, I loved his daughter, and she was angry.
She'll steal your heart.
Very, very angry, rightfully so. And she, oh my gosh, she was able to participate in something that allowed her father, who said after the first time in prison, every 6 months he was back in prison. And this had been going on for many years.
Since he was a teen or something.
Yeah. And now he was able to participate in something that allowed him to connect with his daughter.
For 5 hours.
Yeah, 5 or 6 hours, and make a promise to his daughter that he was going to change his life and that he wasn't going to give up on her. Oh my gosh, it's heart-wrenching. It's so beautiful. And when they re-interviewed him afterwards, he was out and he had not been in prison for 4 years.
They follow up them like 1 year after, 2 years after, 3 years after, and then the last was the 4 years after, which was almost present day, I think.
Yeah. Oh, so, and some of these men that were in prison hadn't had their sentences yet, so they didn't know how long they were going to be. Some of them is heart-wrenching. The guy with the 2 daughters, I think it was his daughter, and then he raised his niece. Yeah, he ended up with 30 years in prison. And that's heart-wrenching. That's so
I thought I sang to Kelli, I can't remember the last time I cried that hard. It really hit me. It's been at least 20 years, because even after I couldn't stop crying, I keep thinking about it. I don't know what it is in Canada. I want to look that up. So in the States, I had no idea that in 2014, hundreds of prisons have no contact visits anymore, no physical touch. It's through a video.
No physical touch.
Which is, I think, the most cruel sentence you're giving someone. They don't get to touch their partners or children again.
And okay, partners might be one thing, but for me, the fact that you cannot touch your children, like the children are our next generation, and these children need to have their fathers, regardless of what they're doing. One of the things I loved about this show is that we didn't find out what the fathers
They don't talk about it at all.
They don't talk about it at all, because this isn't the point.
Yeah, and we know they have long sentences, so it's probably something bad.
Yes. Well, it wasn't a max security system, so the one that they were in was either a low or medium security. So the one guy, when they showed his family, she said that he was in a medium security system. Yeah. Anyways, I love that isn't the focus. And I think that people can get so caught up on what they did and maybe they're bad people. I don't really believe they're bad people. I believe they
People
did
are
bad
great.
things.
Yeah.
But this isn't about them. This is about the children. And regardless, these children have fathers. And whether you think these men have the right to be fathers, doesn't matter. They are fathers. And that is who they're connected with. And you can't take that away from the children. is my personal opinion. Feel very strongly about that.
You're punishing the child for the crime of the father.
Absolutely.
And that's not right.
And it is absolutely wrong. And now we're seeing these young girls, and we can't discount the boys. They didn't talk about the boys. Obviously, this is called daughters. But all children who don't have the capacity to be with their parents, it is causing anxiety, depression, suicide, separation anxiety. Like, it's across the board.
You really see that with the girl who starts at age 5.
Yes.
Remember her name? I can't remember her name. God,
Bree.
I love her. Bree.
Yeah.
And she loves her dad. It had only
So
been
much.
so
It
much.
is-
Like, it had only been a year at that point that he had been
Yes.
out, and she wants to make him proud, and she's doing, all these things, and she's so smart, and she really wants to make daddy proud. Like, oh my, I can't even talk about crying. It's so beautiful. But then because we get to see her from 5 and then 6 and then 7 and we see
8.
her journey of closing off, she's getting harder and harder and more and tough, bigger wall, to the point that she finally, after the 3rd or 4th year, is allowed to visit him again. After the dance, there was no visitation.
Well, he had been moved around
yeah.
I think he had 2 or 3 other prisons he had been moved to, and some of them he wasn't allowed visits.
Yeah,
So
like even I guess none of them have that physical touch visit.
yeah, well, he was in different states,
Right.
So he had moved from different states, and I don't know why they moved them, which is also very cruel to the families because now they can't. But some of the prisons, and I'm assuming the he actually ended up getting another 10 months added on. So something else has happened in prison. So, but it's really.
But anyway, she gets to see him again when she's now 8, I think, from 5. And she asks when she's there visiting him, she wants to go. Like after a certain amount of time, you see she's really got a huge wallop because she's so hurt. And then in the car on the ride home, after they go eat, you hear their phone call. I don't even know if I can say it. And she's just going, yeah. And he's trying to say, like, I love you. Like, hey, it was so amazing to see this. And then he goes, I'm proud of you. And you see her start to choke up, but she's hiding that too. She doesn't want him to know that hit her. But her dad, this little girl, her dad's saying, I'm proud of you. Like, it's just, oh my God, she's being so punished for something that, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah. I think what I was going to say is that the thing about it is that you have to separate the man who showed up in the world and made these bad decisions compared to the dad. And when you see these men, these hardened criminals, and you see them with their daughters, you have to understand that these men have this softness inside, and that it's the most beautiful thing to see this man with his 5-year-old daughter and how much he just worships
her
and loves her so much. And how he shows up in the world clearly is much different. He got 10 years, plus he got another 10 months on added for something he did in prison. But to see that inside these hardened criminals is this beautiful, soft man who loves their child or children. And that's what we want to kind of say, that without having these physical connections, these young girls are showing up in the world with anxiety and depression. And now this carries on throughout their lifetime.
As they all said, like most of them grew up with their dads in prison. I thought that was interesting when they were talking about, you see the generational trauma that's being passed down.
Absolutely.
And just, that's staggering. 95% don't refriend. Most of the guys, I think we only really closely follow 4 stories, but this was in one state and then it got moved to another state. So this isn't just like one group of 10 guys, that 95%. This is a big number.
Yeah.
Having that one, the physical touch thing though, and like the money around it, I don't know how it works in Canada, but you have to pay now for there's an app. And you pay to be able to email. You pay for them to be allowed to phone. You pay for a video meeting, even without the physical touch. So for a lot of these people, they can't afford to pay for that for the person that's in jail. I hope some philanthropist out there just somehow figures out a way to pay for them all after you watch this. But wow, is it powerful. And yeah, it shows the cycles and the generational trauma. There's so many layers to that movie. I actually feel like it could take 2 hours to unpack. So huge kudos to, I saw there was a lot of executive producers. I know Kerry Washington was one of the first names, Jessica Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld's wife. So there was tons and tons. So I think it took a village to make this happen, even to get this made into a movie. So huge. Out of course, the woman, is her name Angela something? Amazing woman. What a woman. God, you are incredible. Talk about angel on earth again.
Yeah,
So
I
powerful.
believe that, especially because we want to be able to have people move through life with such ease and to not have to be burdened with so much anxiety and to not understand what's going on or why this is happening. And if we can say that from our research, anxiety comes from some type of past trauma, physical or emotional. So to be able to try and come back and heal some of this. And so that, and whatever tools there are, because there are a lot of tools out there. I know I hear a lot of people say that, there's no help for anxiety and that there's no help for depression. And I know that there's various degrees of it for sure. But I think there is help, and this isn't going to be overnight. It's not an overnight fix. It just isn't.
No.
So and what happens for one person to be able to heal may not be for the next person. Everybody may need to take different tools and interchange them and use that. And what works in the beginning might be different, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. You may need different tools as you go along because trauma is in layers. And so
Exactly.
as you're able to heal one thing, something else may come up and you may need different tools for the next layer that comes up.
Right. I do hope that because so many people suffer with this, that it will continue to get more research and
Absolutely.
more attention on being able to heal it. It's like I saw a thing, the ocean is full of Xanax. They realize all the fish have these benzos in them.
Oh.
Everyone,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
they did in Sweden. Sweden's what they realized it was in the fish. So they went and studied it and found out there's, the 3.6 micrograms per kilogram in the perch, the wild perch.
Oh my gosh. I knew that for hormones, but I didn't know that also for anxiety meds. Wow.
So a lot of people are using that to cope. And that's fine. That's great if that makes you be able to live life and be happy, but maybe also explore other stuff too to get to the root of it and work on healing that.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing about the meds is that it doesn't get to the root of it. And if you need the meds to be able just to get to a place where now you can start to dig away at what's underneath, great. There's no shame in taking medication. There's no shame in asking for help. There isn't.
God, no.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people do feel that.
Yeah.
But honestly, there is zero shame in doing that. And if anything, it's a really brave thing to do.
Yeah. I just remembered I had sleep paralysis in my early 20s. Again, when this wasn't labeled, I thought I was the only person in the world that this happened. I didn't even know that that wasn't even a thing. I think I saw in the Kardashians, Kendall Jenner talk about it, and I'm like, oh, that's what used to happen to me in my 20s. And again, it was during a very high stress time in my life, high anxious time, again, associated with anxiety, where as a kid or a teen or an early adult, you don't know what's happening or why you're experiencing these things. And you think it's just you, but it's not. There's hundreds of millions of people all over the globe.
And if I can say this too, it's whatever you're going through, even if you're not talking about it, everyone around you is affected by it. They really are, because they know it's like there's an energy that's going on. When somebody's not doing well, but you may not understand what's going on. They haven't verbalized what's going on, but when someone's struggling. I think you can feel that. And some people can't verbalize because maybe they don't know. Maybe they're at the early stages of having anxiety and they haven't actually figured out that's exactly what it is. They know they're being triggered. They don't know what's happening in their body. And I want you to know that, first of all, once you figure that out, the more that you can talk about this, the more that you can share with the people around you, I think the easier it is for people to be able to support you. And I think it's really hard for people around you to support you if they don't know what's going on with you. And even if you're not sure, just to explain, this is what I'm going through, even if you don't know, if you don't have the lingo of anxiety or depression or whatever, just to be able to share so that everyone else around you just know that the people around you who love you want to support you the best that they can. But they can't do that if they don't know what you're going through.
That you're struggling because you're trying to hide it.
Yeah.
I can think of, a lot of people in my life when I was young, and I'm like, oh, they were having anxiety. Like I had a friend who would just suddenly get up and leave. Like, I gotta go. And everyone was like, what an asslole. Like, but looking back, I'm like, I think he suddenly started to feel anxious. So he would just leave in those, like we'd be playing a game. Like it was not, it didn't make sense to suddenly get up and leave. And I don't know that he was even aware of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because so people could, or because you're so preoccupied, you're not aware of what's going on with the people in your life. You're not able to support them if they're struggling because you're just trying to get through each moment. So you could be wrongly labeled with these negative things because you're not telling people, sorry, I'm struggling right now, or I've got this thing I'm dealing with.
And then that energy is coming at you. So you've got all these people who are thinking these negative things about you because they don't understand what's going on. And now I can't imagine you can't be struggling more if you don't feel supported.
Of course.
In life, you're walking around and you feel nobody understands you.
People are mad at you now.
And people are mad, or it becomes this huge cycle. And I know from my personal experience with the people around me, I haven't always been supportive. But if I can say that because I didn't understand what was going on, and you do sometimes think people are narcissistic or are behaving in ways that don't make sense, and you're trying to always figure out, or you're on eggshells all the time.
Yeah.
Because somebody is really irritable all the time, or just things aren't adding up or making sense. And so you feel like you're living on these little eggshells all the time. So I feel like if you're able to share what's going on, even if you don't 100% understand it, then you'll have a better support system because people can be more loving and gentle. And also, too, maybe somebody will be able to say, hey, have you, tried this? Or have you, seen this person? Or have you read this book? And there might be somebody who'll give you something, some kind of tool that'll be your first step to helping you.
Absolutely. I'm actually glad you said that experience for the other people, because the two people that I helped try and explain it because they couldn't understand, they did label their partner selfish. And even thought maybe you start diagnosing them. Are they sociopath? Are they a narcissist? What's going on? And they're not. They're barely hanging on, and they can't even think about the stuff that you've got going on. They're not aware of it. You are really in a bubble.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've understood is that when you have anxiety, you are so overwhelmed and that you cannot possibly take on anything else. You can't hear somebody else's day. You can't hear somebody else's issues. You can't hear anything because you are so drowning in the overwhelm of your own feelings, physical and emotional. And so to say that is huge because I didn't understand that. And I think you're right. I think the selfish narcissist comes up because you're like, well, I can never talk about my feelings.
Totally.
And
or they forgot about this thing I have. They can't even remotely focus on a thing that you ask them to show up for. Yeah. They are literally trying to get through moment to moment to survive. If it's, as bad as it was for me at times, and I think it's peaks and valleys.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's really, when you say when people, it's not about you, it's really not about you.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get through life moment to moment and truly don't have capacity for anyone else. They've got to heal themselves first to really have capacity for a partner.
Yeah. And if I can say this too, you cannot heal anyone.
Ooh, good one. Yeah.
It's a really big thing. And a lot of people, I hear a lot where it's like, if they only did this or if they only did that. I know because I've been there. But the thing is that I had to realize that complete hands off. My job is to only support and love and to be there in the capacity that I'm able to do and they're able to also receive. So this is a juggling act because that changes all the time. And somebody with anxiety and depression can be great one day and not good the other day. So one day they can be telling you things are really good and the next day it's not so much. And from the people on the outside, you have to learn to be able to ebb and flow with the people that are around you. and to know that it isn't about you. This is their journey. They're trying to figure it out the best they can. If they want help, they will ask you. So stop trying to give them all the things that you think will heal them. And I think that just causes more problems, to be completely honest. I think that, again, if I can say this, they are overwhelmed. So you try to give them all this advice, they can't hear it or take it because they're in survival mode. And like you said, they're not going to be in that survival mode, forever, because they will come out of it. But when they come out of it, they have to come to you, and they have to be in a place where they want to heal, and they want these tools, because you can't give it tools to somebody if they don't want to take them. They won't. So
I learned that the hard way around trying to help someone with depression. Yeah, same thing. Unfortunately, we can't heal the people we love. If only we could.
If only we could.
It's a one-person job.
And your job as the people on the outside, whether you are a mother, a father, a wife, a husband, an aunt, a brother, a sister, doesn't matter. Your only job is just to love them exactly how they are and to support them in whatever way that you know best. And usually that is just to surround them with as much love as possible, and know that, they're doing the best they can in the moment with whatever small tools or lots of tools that they have. They're doing the best that they can.
And aren't we all?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good note to end on.
Yeah.
We're all doing the best we can.
We are all doing the best we can.
I just had a thought. I'll leave in the notes as well for the podcast. My hypnotherapist that really helped me, I don't know if she's taken on new patients, but she has she's wrote a book recently, and she released, and she has an Instagram, and she puts out tons of great information, like just kind of like techniques of therapy and whatnot. So I will put her link in there in case, I don't know that she sees people now. I don't want to promise that, but at least just to get some of the messages she shares, I think would be powerful for people. Beautiful. And same as the woman that did my EMDR. I'll see if she has any sort of social following.
Yeah. And I'm going to say that, I know from my own personal experience, acupuncture works really well. I've had a lot of success helping people manage their anxiety and giving them small bouts of relief just to be able to find some balance in the body. So I'm going to highly recommend seeking out a practitioner that works with anxiety. So do your homework in your area, make sure that they're registered or licensed, and that they can work with people who have anxiety and depression. There's lots of great acupuncture points for that. And then there's some great supplements and adaptogens. I know that if you're on meds, please check with your doctor before you add anything in. Some of the ones that I love to recommend are ashwagandha, L-theanine. I think I'm saying that right. Theanine.
It's the L-theanine.
Yes, yeah. That's how I say it anyways. Magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin B6. There's passion flower, CBD oil. That's another good one. So there are some things that you can also take to help supplement and keep your body balanced.
So you can do the mental work.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing.
They can't see me like Houdini, move discreetly. I go.
I've had a morning ritual now for over 20 years that always begins with a matcha latte. I now drink mud water because the added mushrooms level up my day with natural energy, focus, and immunity support. To purchase, go to mudwater.com/wellness. It brings you to our Misbehaving Women's discount offer. Get $20 off a monthly subscription plus 15%, or go to the 15% off for your first time starter kit. mudwtr.com/wellness.